It was a rainy afternoon, the kind of day that foretold something bad. You stood in the middle of the crowded hospital hallway, heart pounding, staring at your boyfriend, your everything. His face was pale, and his eyes, once full of warmth and affection, now held the weight of a devastating choice. His first love, the one he never fully got over, had been in a terrible accident. Her life hung by a thread, and her only chance at survival depended on him. Not just his emotional support, but something more, a life-saving procedure only he could provide. And the cost? You could see it in his eyes, the internal battle ripping him apart. 4 months, you had been the one standing by his side, but in this moment, the past held a greater claim on him than the present. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking like glass. "I have to do this. I can't let her die." The words sliced through your heart like a dagger. You had loved him, trusted him, and believed that nothing could come between you. But now, standing in the shadow of his past, you realized he was willing to sacrifice your love to save her. Without another word, you turned and walked away, leaving behind the man you thought would be your forever. The rain mixed with your tears, as you swore to yourself that you would never look back. His words hung in the air between you. Memories of your time together flooded back, the happy moments, the shared dreams. But none of that could erase what he had done. You chose her, you said, your voice cold but fragile. You made your choice. So why are you here now? He sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture you remembered well. "I did what I thought was right. I saved her life, but I lost you. And every day since then, I've wondered if it was worth it." You bit your lip, trying to keep your emotions in check. "And was it?" "No," he admitted quietly, his eyes full of sorrow. "She recovered, but we never got back together. She moved on, and I was left with nothing but the guilt of losing you." You shook your head, emotions boiling over. "Guilt isn't enough. You left me, you broke us, and for what? For someone you couldn't let go of, even though I was right there. I was always there." Tears welled up in his eyes, and for the first time, you saw just how deeply his regret had settled in. "I know I can't change what I did, but I want you to know. I never stopped loving you." The words hit you like a tidal wave. 5 years ago, you had longed to hear him say those words, to choose you. But now, after all this time, it felt like too little, too late. "I don't know if I can forgive you," you said, your voice barely above a whisper. "I've spent 5 years trying to forget, trying to move on. I don't even know if I'm the same person anymore." He nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking for a chance. A chance to make things right. A chance to show you that I'm not the same person who made that choice." You looked at him, your heart torn in two. The love you had for him hadn't completely faded, but neither had the pain. Could you trust him again? Could you let yourself be vulnerable after everything? "I don't know," you said honestly. "It's not that simple." "I know," he said, stepping closer, holding out the bracelet. "But maybe this is a start. I never should have let you go. And if you'll let me, I'll spend the rest of my life proving that I'll never make that mistake again." 5 years passed since that fateful day. You had rebuilt your life, piece by piece, finding strength in the independence you never thought you'd need. You left the city, moved to a new town, and buried the memories of him deep in your heart. You threw yourself into your career, made new friends, and refused to let the pain of your past define you. But the scar never fully healed. Then, one day, fate stepped in. It was a quiet afternoon in the cafe where you often came to unwind, sipping coffee while you watched the world pass by. The bell above the door chimed, and you didn't think much of it, until you heard that voice. That unmistakable, deep voice that once whispered promises of forever into your ears. You looked up, and there he was. 5 years older, his face more mature, but his eyes, the eyes that haunted your dreams, were still the same. His gaze locked onto yours, and time seemed to freeze. For a moment, neither of you moved. It was as if the years between you vanished, leaving only the weight of unfinished business. He slowly approached, hesitant, unsure, as if afraid you might disappear again. In his hand, he held something small, something familiar. Your breath caught in your throat when you realized what it was. The bracelet, your bracelet, that you had lost the day he made his choice. You had worn it every day, a symbol of your connection to him, and after you left, you thought it was gone forever. Yet here it was, in his hand, like a forgotten promise. I found this, the day you left, he said softly, his voice full of regret. I've kept it all these years, hoping one day I could give it back to you. You stared at the bracelet, emotions swirling inside you. Anger, sorrow, longing, all of it mixed into a confusing storm. Part of you wanted to lash out, to remind him of what he did. But another part, the part that still remembered the love you once shared, wanted answers. Why are you here? You asked, your voice shaking with the effort to stay calm. I've been looking for you, he said, his eyes pleading. I've spent the last 5 years trying to make sense of what happened, of the choice I made. I never stopped thinking about you. You looked at the bracelet in his hand, the small object that held so much meaning. It represented everything, your past, your love, your heartbreak. And now, it was the symbol of the choice you had to make. Would you take it back? Would you give him the chance to prove he had changed, to rebuild what you had lost? Or would you walk away, leaving the past behind for good? As you reached out, your fingers brushed against the bracelet, and in that moment, you made your decision. You took the bracelet, slipping it back onto your wrist. This is your only chance, you whispered, barely able to believe your own words. He smiled, his eyes filled with hope. I won't waste it. And with that, you let yourself take a step back into the unknown, unsure of what the future held, but ready to see if love could truly heal the wounds of the past. You hesitated, then slowly shook your head. I can't, you said softly, stepping away from him. Too much has happened. I've moved on, and so should you. His face fell, but he nodded, understanding. I'll always regret what I did. Without another word, you turned and walked away, leaving him behind once more. This time, it wasn't with anger or sorrow, but with peace. You were finally free. Whether it ends with reconciliation or parting ways, this story delves deep into the complexities of love, regret, and the choices we make. The question of whether love can survive such a betrayal lingers, but ultimately, the story is about healing and personal growth, no matter the path chosen.